Mhm.
We are energy beings with
Yeah.
Christi Clemons Hoffman, and we're gonna start a very amazing discussion. I had very amazing podcast with her, and I really enjoyed. So let's begin. Christy Clemon, very welcome to my show. And I know
Thank
you're a
you.
lifelong intuitive channel teacher and consultant. You also have a podcast.
Yes,
Yes,
which you have been on.
yes, I've been there and I really enjoy our talk. So tell me about yourself. You are a Reiki teacher as well, what I saw
I'm a
in your
Reiki
bio.
master. I'm a Reiki
Yes,
master.
Reiki master. So
Yes.
tell me about energy. How did you become interested in this topic and when did you start working?
So I first began working with clients as an intuitive channel, angel medium, working with people in intuitive readings. And then everyone I seemed to be meeting at the time, this was like 10 years ago, everyone I was meeting was talking about Reiki, doing Reiki, they were teaching Reiki, they were having Reiki sessions, and I had never heard of that before. So I started taking a deeper look, and I studied Reiki 1, Reiki 2, Advanced Reiki, Reiki Master, and really growing my body of knowledge into the energetic field. And truly, I mean, we're all energy beings, and everything that we do has to do with the energy that's in our bodies. We're energetic beings having a human experience, and the body um, is actually what we can like measure what our energy is doing. So it's our body is like a message board. It lets us know when our energy is good and clear and flowing well, or when it's not, and when we're blocked. So really it is the energy that's going through our body that calls the shots, whether we're feeling wellness or feeling dis-ease and feeling blocked within the system. So it's a fascinating subject. It's our energy system is comprised of the chakras, which most of your listeners, I'm sure, have heard of at least, and then the aura as well, which is the outward expression of our energy system. But it's we talk about the respiratory system, the skeletal system, the reproductive system, the circulatory system. We don't really talk about the energy system, but the energy system is truly what calls the shots, if that makes
Exactly.
sense.
Exactly.
Yes.
So,
Mm-hmm.
how did it work in your life? How did you discover the power of energy in your life?
Well, it was through learning Reiki and understanding, what energy healing does in the body, and understanding that really the energy system is what calls the shots. Is just understanding that how the emotions work with our energy flow, that understanding that our emotions are the first line of defense, I guess you could say, the first indication that we know that there's something going on in our field. So, our higher self knows what we want to learn, what we want to experience in this life, and knows where we we would want to be directing our energy. And um, when our higher self starts to send us negative emotion, that's when we know that we need to make some sort of change. Maybe we're looking at something in a way that's not in the highest and best good. Maybe we're experiencing something in a way that is counter to what's in our highest and best good. So, when we have negative emotion, Pantea, it's time to ask ourselves, okay, so I've got negative emotion about it. I've got sadness, resentment, anger, fear. how am I looking at this situation? Is there a different way to look at this situation that might be in my higher and best good? And we always have a free choice. We can either choose to make these changes in how we're looking at something, what we're thinking about something, what we feel about something, or we can choose not to. And if we choose not to, that's fine. But then our higher self wants to kind of make that knock a little bit louder. So our second indication that something is off is that one of our chakras becomes blocked and our energy system starts to feel a little bit off. We just feel off. We feel things are not going well. Things are not going right. And sometimes we can't even put our finger on it, but things just aren't flowing the way that we would want them to flow. And again, we have free will. We can either look at what's not going right and look at how we're thinking about that, what we feel about it, and see what changes we would want to make to that and how we address it, what we're looking at. Or we don't make those changes. We don't look at it. And if we don't make corrections to how we're seeing a thing, then that knock gets a little bit louder. And eventually, after the energy system is affected, then the body begins to get affected. So we can have disease, we can have issues with the body, malfunction, dysfunction, dis-ease within the body itself. And then, of course, we always have a choice as to what our thoughts and what our beliefs are and how we look at things. So we can always decide to change course and adjust our emotions and our emotional flow accordingly. Now, all of this is not to say that it's not to say that we have solely created whatever issue in the body, whether that's infertility, cancer, even a broken bone. That's not the case, but we want to look at the body instead as to, okay, well, what do we need to pay attention to? What do we need to correct? What do we need to understand to look at things in a different way? So, for example, in the body, the left side of the body is typically about our feminine side, the important females in our lives, whether that's mother, sister, daughter, grandmother, aunt, the important females in our life. In a general sense, the right side of the body is about the important males in our life, father, brother, son, husband, right? And in general terms, the shoulders are about responsibility. The hands are about holding on to things. The neck is about getting to look around and get a better view, being flexible in how we're viewing things. The back is generally about support, and do we feel supported or are we not feeling supported? The feet and the legs are about moving forward or being stuck. In general terms, we hold on to anger, which can fester and later become cancer, can become other things in the body as well, but generally anger goes to cancer. And then we even have language, at least in the English language. I can't speak to all of the language, but at least in the English language, we have words and phrases that tell us like what type of energy we're holding on to in our bodies. We say that we feel punched in the gut. We say we feel like we were stabbed in the back. We say that we feel like the weight of the world is on our shoulders. So our language even tells us, well, what do we need to look at? How are we looking at things in a way that might not suit what we want to express in this life? So we can look at all of this and make some changes accordingly. Hopefully it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I like that. Like the way you talk about the shoulder, your neck, and yeah, it's amazing. Or hands. How do we know a specific chakra is closed? Let's say start from the head
down to the bottom. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So the crown chakra is responsible for our feeling of connection to our higher power, whatever we see that higher power is. The crown chakra is also about connection to the greater good, whether we see that as kind of in a spiritual sense or the community. And when we're feeling like disconnected from our greater good, disconnected from God, etc., then we can have a block in the crown chakra. And that can result in headaches, depression, mental fogginess, that type of thing, dysfunction in our higher brain. Perhaps all of a sudden we forget how to do math or something like that. But and then in the sixth chakra, which is also we call it the brow chakra, which is responsible for intuition. It's responsible for vision, including being able to visualize. And if we feel like we're blocking ourselves, we tell ourselves, our language is so important. We tell ourselves, I just can't visualize. I just don't, I try, but I can't visualize, because our words become self-fulfilling prophecies in a way. Also, when we block our intuition, and a lot of times we'll do that. We're all born intuitive, but sometimes if it frightens us, or if we feel like it's wrong to be able to receive intuition for whatever reason, perhaps a religious belief, then we can shut it off. But that energy has to go somewhere, and it usually goes to a blockage or an imbalance in the brow chakra. And so when we do have a blockage or imbalance, we might again have brain fog, difficulty concentrating, difficulty with higher brain functions. We can have depression, anxiety, even mental health issues that we would want to, correct. So then we have the throat chakra, which is all about, guess what? Communication, speaking your truth, feeling like you've got a voice, using your voice appropriately. So we have some issues with communication, or just feeling like maybe we're not heard. Maybe we grow up in a family in which children are seen but not heard, or that, my parents just don't listen to what I have to say. They don't honor what I have to say. They're not hearing my truth. And so we can have some blockages or dysfunction in the throat chakra. And then that can result in neck problems, thyroid problems, swallowing problems, mouth, teeth, jaw, ear problems, even sinus issues, allergies, all connected to the throat chakra. I know that the throat chakra is my life's work. I've got allergies, thyroiditis, frequent neck issues, had problems with my teeth growing up. So I know that's something I'm always going to be working on, is the throat chakra. And then the heart chakra, of course, is all about compassion and love for others and love for self. And that's very important to understand. It's also about love to ourselves and compassion for ourselves. And so when we have an issue with the heart chakra, we might feel like we can't accept love, or can't feel love, or don't feel loved. Then we can have those emotional qualities, but also with the heart chakra, it governs the heart, it governs the lung, it governs the back around the shoulder blades, because all of our chakras do go all the way through the body, front and back. So we can even have maybe connective tissue or dysfunction in the chest area, the breasts, also for women. We can have problems with these areas of the body. And then we get to the solar plexus chakra, which is right below the rib cage where our solar plexus is. And that chakra is about our personal power. Are we standing in our power? Are we giving our power away? Are we using our power indiscriminately to try to boss everybody around? So these issues are in the solar plexus chakra. And when we have a dysfunction there, we can have digestive issues. I see this a lot in women, because we tend to give our power away. We tend to not stand in our power, right? We allow people to tell us what we should do, and we defer to husbands. We defer to generally defer to men, not always, but as women, we tend to give our power away. So we can have digestive dysfunction, liver, gallbladder, spleen, pancreas, all of this. We can have issues in the mid-back because, of course, the chakras do go through all the way through the back. So mid-back issues as well. I think it's important at this point to mention that all of our organs have minor chakras. So they're their own energy centers. All of our organs have their own energy centers, and they do report to the main chakras. So the chakras of the pancreas, the gallbladder, the liver, the spleen, the stomach, all of this basically reports to and is under the umbrella of the solar plexus chakra. And that's how we can tell that we're blocked there. And then we've got the sacral chakra, which also in women tends to be blocked because the sacral chakra is where we have our visions of femininity, how we feel about whatever gender we have. That's where we carry our messages about it, what it means to be a woman, what it means to be a man, what it means to be the gender, however you express your gender. Also, we tend to carry relationship trauma in the sacral chakra because that's where we hold relationships. It's our sexual center. It's our creative center as well, along with the brow chakra, because our intuitive, our vision center also is very, very creative. But the sacral chakra, that physical area, just literally is where we create new life from. So we tend to hold our issues over reproduction, families, relationship.
That's why I always tell my clients, be creative. That helps your reproductive function be activated.
I'm so glad you tell them that, Pantea. It's important.
Yes.
However that creativity looks, you don't have to be good at it. You don't have to be a painter or a musician. You can just play around with it and be creative.
Yeah, it just helps you to focus on something and you know that you are creating something from nothing. And that helps your reproductive functions get the message. And then again, that one starts reproduction. So the point is, when we are trying to be creative, all other distraction is gone. We just focus on something that we love. Maybe it's cooking, maybe it's just creating something.
Decorating.
Very simple. But the point is because we love it, so that's why we try not to think about something else.
Sure, absolutely. We put our creative energy out there. And when we do focus our energy elsewhere, then we do see things returning to us. For example, I used to share an office with a woman named Kathy, and she's also part of Radiate Wellness. She's a business partner as well. And so when we first started sharing an office, she was putting her energy into, I'm being professional. I am renting an office space. I'm having a place where clients can come see me. And she saw an immediate boost in her numbers of clientele because she was putting that energy out there. So yeah, when we put creative energy out there, then that's what comes back to us as well. You know, being energy beings, we're constantly putting our energy out there. And there is one more chakra I would like to mention. I do think it's the most important, and that is the root chakra. If you think about, let me back up here. The root chakra is basically in our hip area, or sitting bones, or external genitalia, and just the base of our spine. That's the area of the root chakra. And if you think about it, if a plant does not have a root, it's not going to grow. You know, a plant can do without its leaves. You can cut off its flower, and it's probably going to produce more flowers. It's going to continue living and growing. But without a root, it's going to be very difficult for that plant to thrive. And the root chakra is where we hold our feelings of security, safety, stability, trust. The root chakra is probably the first chakra to come online when we're born. And I think of the root chakra like a baby, like a newborn baby, that all it's concerned with is, am I being fed? Am I being changed? If I cry, does someone come and take care of me? I mean, that's it. And it's really basically questions of, are my needs being met? And if a child does not form a strong attachment when they're young to their caregiver, it's very difficult for them to form attachments with anybody else later on. It's called radical attachment disorder. So it's when we never really learn to attach, and that causes so many problems as we grow up. So attachment disorder. The root chakra, I think, is where we have the foundation of all the rest of our energy. If we don't feel like we've got the resources we need, people around us that we trust, that our needs are going to be met, then it's kind of hard to focus on anything else. So I do believe that the root chakra, in my opinion, is the most important. So if we've got a root chakra blockage, if we're having a dysfunction there, emotionally we might feel just panic that we don't have enough resources. We might feel like we don't have anyone around us that we can trust, maybe feeling a lot of sense of betrayal all around us. Physically, we can have problems with the external genitals. We can have problems with constipation. We can have problems with the anus. We can have problems with our tailbone, hips, the pelvis. All of those physical structures come from that. People who move around a lot, or perhaps even more so, children who move around a lot, because that's maybe they're in the military, or just their family is one that moves around a lot. And it's easy to have some root chakra dysfunction there. And so, but it can be overcome. It's just, needs a little bit of extra work. And people who maybe lose their job or are afraid of losing their job, they can have some root chakra issues.
That's so interesting. I'm actually mentioning two things here. First of all, in healing, especially PTSD, post-trauma disorder, the first thing is finding peace and safety. So that's actually relates to this chakra, because by the time you don't feel peaceful, the healing is not going to start. So it's like getting medication all the time, you're repeating IVF all the time, but you don't feel safe inside and you're always desperate. So the healing doesn't start. And another thing that I talk to so many people, and they have IBS issue.
Yes.
And that again can explain this, because some of them have childhood trauma. They are abandoned, like their parents abandoned them, and they don't have a feeling of belonging, and that's why they have these issues. That's so interesting. So to see the body is not only physical thing, or is not only mental thing. So that's why when somebody have PTSD, post-trauma, is not going to help them just taking the medication or taking something to reduce the depression, And that's why in functional medicine, they go to whole body, like to see all the guts issue, or if they have any other problem in the body. And not only this, it's better we also look at chakras, because that's the point. You put all the picture inside this ball, like the energy, because we are surrounded by this energy. And if something going wrong with these chakras, is going to definitely directly affect us.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to mention that it doesn't happen immediately. It takes years of repeated thoughts and repeated emotions. And we typically learn these from the people that we're raised with, how they look at things. Another thing I wanted to mention is that any type of physical issue in the body, I see it like a mountain that we're trying to make a tunnel through. On one side of the mountain, we're doing all of the physical things. We are taking medication. I think medication can really help. It's sometimes overprescribed, but I think it can really help. So on one side, we're taking the medication, we're getting the scans, we're doing the procedures, we're getting checked out by a medical professional who's very familiar with the whatever part of the body, whatever function is their specialty. But on the other side, we have to address the emotional and the energetic cause of what's going on, whether that's IBS, whether that's hip problems, joint problems, fertility issues, heart problems, whatever it is, we have to address the emotional qualities and the energetic qualities that started it. Because otherwise, it's not going to be complete. We might become dependent on medication to keep us going if we've not really resolved the emotional issues behind it. Now, we can only do the energetic and the emotional aspect of it as well, but it could take just as long to resolve the issue as it did to create the issue if we only do that. So I really do feel like the Western medicine, the allopathic, and the energetic need to be in harmony and work together. So I'm so glad you mentioned functional medicine.
Yeah, I'm functional medicine educator, and we are actually going to publish a book soon. And that's exactly about this gap between holistic medicine and allopathic, like conventional. Conventional medicine is really necessary for all of us because
Right.
that's science, of course. But as you see, there are a lot of things that we have to take care of because we are not only the body, not the physical body. There are
Right.
lots of layers that should be addressed.
Absolutely.
So, do you have any freebies to give us?
I've got a discount code. I would love to offer your audience 20% off of all of my services. In a nutshell, I do readings, Reiki, and regression because I'm also a hypnotherapist. I do past life regression and healing hypnosis as well as clinical hypnosis. And I can practice certain forms of hypnosis online, but other forms I have to provide in my office in Kansas City, Missouri. But the readings, the energy healing, I'm also a medical intuitive, so that's helpful. And that I can practice online. So I would love to offer your listeners 20% off. So you just go to radiatewellnesscommunity.com, which is my website, radiatewellnesscommunity.com. And when you're scheduling a service with me, use the coupon code Energy Being, and that will get you 25 or 20% off.
That was very kind of you.
Well, I wanted to offer your audience something special so they can experience it for themselves, of course.
Yeah. I didn't know that you're working on past life regression. Some of my audience, really interested because I had another interview with someone else about this topic, and hopefully I can have you another time, specifically just about the past life regression, because that's really interesting topic. I'm also interested in knowing it about myself.
It's fascinating. And honestly, there are certain physical issues that we do carry over from one lifetime to the next. And so, again, when working on the emotional and the energetic cause behind all disease and dysfunction, if we know where that dysfunction began in another lifetime, we can address it there and we can release it.
Wow.
It's fascinating.
I'm going to have you next time.
Oh, perfect.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. And I already showed them their website and Facebook, Instagram there. Yeah. And use this offer, 20% off from all of her services. And that's amazing. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I'm happy to offer it. Thank you so much for having me on tonight, Pentea. I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Please subscribe to Panta Calhoun Transition channel and order my book, Rules of Change for the Better. Tune up your mood and transform your life to reach your biggest